my business experience is primarily as a lawyer. I also do have some other business experience, although it's limited. I serve on the board of directors of a commercial leasing company called Mazuma Capital. But most of my business experience is in the practice of law. I have my own book of business. I have my own clients. It operates just as any other business does. I have people who pay money, and when the economy's bad, I feel the pinch. And when the economy is good, it's easier to bring in business.
So how could you help us get jobs?
The way I get jobs is by allowing you to do what you know how to do already best.
But what if we don't know how to do things best?
Well,
how are you going to help us?
You'll learn because you have the incentive to do it. Because the more of your money you can keep, the more we can cut down your capital gains liability. By the way, one thing I would like to do is undertake categorical across-the-board percentage cuts in every area of government to the extent necessary to enable us to slash capital gains rates to no more than 10%, short-term and long-term. That will encourage investment. If you want to stimulate the economy, that's how you do it, not by expanding the government.
Well, I'm a veteran, and I would like to know how I could work in the private sector, but right now it's not possible for me to work in the private sector, but I would like to be maybe I'm asking because I'd like to be able to work as a regular citizen.
Could I ask you why you're not able to work in the private sector?
Because I have a broken back, I have
Okay.
a bad leg, I have mental problems, I have head injuries from the military.
Okay.
I just have a lot of medical problems, and I would like to work in the regular sector, but I'm a veteran that's been injured by working for the government, and I just wanted to know how that could be addressed in this, so I'm not a socialist.
You know, I would have to lean towards if you're a veteran and you've been, put in a position by protecting us, that we should actually do our part to protect you and to help you. I think if there's any room for entitlement, if you're in a position where you really can't help yourself, this man's absolutely right, though. In America, if it's right, you're free to have your God-given rights and fail or succeed on your own merit. You know, I'm not here to prop you up, and you're not here to prop me up. We're here to fail or succeed on our own merits, and we're no longer free to do that.
Right.
So that's the hardest part. But
when the taxes were cut by half, there'd be a lot more charity, and people like yourself that are in trouble would find willing. But right now, when they take 50, 60% of everything you make, there's not much left to give.
did you know Americans still gave over $300 billion in the last 2 years in a
What
row?
would we give if it wasn't so?
Exactly. You're
A lot
absolutely
more,
right.
A lot more.
Yeah.
And there's this myth out there. Ashamed to admit that I have a few liberal friends. I shouldn't say ashamed to admit. I like liberals and conservatives.
I think they should all be.
Liberals are just wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm always amused when I talk to my liberal friends. They'll bring up the healthcare debate, and they'll say, "Mike, what will people do if we don't have socialized medicine? What will people do if we phase out Medicare and Medicaid, as I believe we should, as I believe we have to, consistent with the Constitution? What will they do? You'll have people dying." Well, let me ask a question. There are lots of people who lived before the advent of our modern socialized medical system, right?
Yeah.
And yet, ask your parents, ask your grandparents, look in the journals of other ancestors who were around. You're not going to find a lot of stories of people who just died in the street because there were no ambulances to come and pick them up because they were too poor. That doesn't happen. It's a fiction invented by the far left in this country in order to promote a far left progressive socialist agenda. I'm not suggesting that it's easy. I'm not suggesting that everybody finds it easy to pay for their medical expenses. I am suggesting that the market and charitable sources that are fostered by a free market system will always provide. People will not go without care. We do not have to rely upon the federal master to take care of us.
Nice.
The minute we start to is the minute we start reverting to medieval feudalism.
Yes.
Yes.
And I have a big concern about the current trend of, well, I guess it's not just current, but I've been currently made aware of it, that when a bill is presented and voted upon, the politicians don't get to read it. And there was an article today that explained that stimulus package for jobs today was stuffed, according to a doctor, with part of Obama's medical plan. backdoor approach. And it's gonna give them, control over the healthcare insurance industry. And their goal, obviously, is in the years to come to get it to fail, to destroy the industry. So how is it that this is the current trend, that, oh, just vote and don't look at what's really in the bill, and now we end up with this?
It's reprehensible. It's malpractice. Imagine if your lawyer were to pick up a document just randomly and go and submit it to court if you were involved in litigation, sign his name to it without having read it. That lawyer would be committing malpractice. You could sue that lawyer, as well you should in that circumstance, and you'd get a lot of money because that would be malpractice. For some reason, when members of Congress do it, we call that business as usual. Well, of course they didn't read it, because how could they? When it's 2,000 pages long or 1,000 pages long or whatever, you have the Obama health care package that was, 2,500 pages long?
Yeah.
And then you've got this one. How long did you say this one was, this Jobs bill?
I don't know how many pages.
I'm sure it was in the many hundreds of pages long. You had the Patriot Act that was crammed down Congress's throat in the immediate wake of 9/11. And I think that one was at least 700 or 800 pages long. It's always in the name of a crisis. We have some crisis, we've got to act now. I think that's awful. Now, believe it or not, this problem wasn't something that our founding fathers were unaware of. In fact, James Madison, in Federalist Number 62, said the following about that. He said, "It will be of little benefit to the American people that their laws are written by men of their own choosing. If those laws are so voluminous, so complex, that they cannot reasonably be read or understood by those who are subject to them." So the problem isn't just that our representatives aren't reading them before voting on them, although that's a huge problem, and they should be fired for doing that even once. But it creates an even bigger problem when that becomes law. We're all subject to that law, and we don't even know what it is, because we've never read it, and very few people have ever read it. Let me just tell you this. I have an easy default answer to that. I think there is a need nationwide, both in the federal government and in the states, for what I would call a simplicity in law movement. We need to move in the direction of laws that are simple, laws that can be understood by people with only a 12th grade education or a 10th grade education. I don't know. Most of our laws need not and should not be that complex. If we moved in that direction and had that as our objective, we'd be a lot better off. But I will tell you this. When I'm a United States Senator, I will not vote for a bill that I can't read. If they don't give me the time to read it, the answer is going to be no. I don't care how good they say this thing is, I will vote no every single time. They will call me Dr. No, because no will be the default. If they can't show me that it's constitutional, if I can't satisfy myself that it is, if I can't satisfy myself that we can afford it, if I can't satisfy myself that I understand what it says, I will vote no every single time.
Nice.
That's one of the concerns I have in going to state convention, is somebody comes up with some bright sounding idea, and inexperienced delegates go, "Oh, what a good idea." And that's what I've always said. I vote no. I won't vote for it unless I really understand it and I've had a chance to examine that amendment or that proposition or whatever. And I think that's one of the problems we have even among our own group. If we don't know what we're doing, then we shouldn't be supporting something.
That's right. I couldn't agree more.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
I think it's very important that we have a change in our judicial system. Except for Louisiana, it's all copied after the British, which is just fine. And rules for engagement, which is generally absurd but not enforced. We should change it to where they're directed towards finding out the truth and trying to administer justice. Those two issues are not addressed in our legal system at the present time.